For 100 days, the Middle East burned. The exchange of bombs and missiles between the United States, Israel, and Iran has finally paused, leaving behind a fractured and unrecognizable landscape. In the opening days of that conflict, Israeli and American strikes killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The barrage across the country was so relentless that the Iranian government has held his body for over 3 months, unable to organize a state funeral. Now, with the ceasefire holding, Iran is making a move. On July 4th, they plan to hold a massive state funeral, a calculated attempt to project national survival and defiance against the West. To legitimize this show of survival, Iran sent an official invitation to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, asking him to attend the funeral in Tehran. New Delhi has mere days to respond. The Prime Minister is being forced to choose between a survivalist Iran and the partners who suffered under their missiles, a decision that leaves little room for the middle ground India has traditionally occupied. The scale of the war's spillover was massive. During the fighting, Iran launched an estimated 3,000 drones and missiles directly into the United Arab Emirates. For years, the UAE built a reputation as the ultimate safe haven, a destination for global investment and golden visas. The sheer volume of Iranian strikes shattered that image in a matter of months. Resentment inside the Emirates remains high. Citizens are openly pointing fingers at Donald Trump, blaming him for dragging their country into a conflict they feel was unnecessary. Iran has aggressively leaned into this tension. At the recent BRICS summit in India, Iranian representatives explicitly attacked the UAE's leadership, accusing them of siding with aggressors. This intense, open hostility creates a massive roadblock for New Delhi. Accepting the invitation puts India in a position where it must choose between two of its most essential economic and strategic partners. The first option is to accept the invitation and send Prime Minister Modi. Doing so secures long-term ties with the Iranian regime and keeps the door open for future energy trade. It also protects a critical physical asset. India relies on maintaining unhindered access and control over the Chabahar Port, a key node in their regional trade network that survived the war. However, the diplomatic cost is high. The UAE is one of India's top 5 most important allies. Attending a state funeral in Tehran while the Emirates struggle to rebuild from Iranian strikes would be seen as a direct snub. Option A secures the Iranian relationship, but it signals a move away from the interests of the UAE, Israel, and the United States. To soften the blow, India could choose a compromise, sending a high-ranking cabinet minister to Tehran instead of the prime minister. India has tried this exact maneuver before. During the swearing-in of Iran's new president, New Delhi dispatched Minister Nitin Gadkari. That trip exposed a massive security vulnerability. Hours after a high-profile Hamas chief sat in the same room as Indian officials, Israel carried out a targeted assassination against him right in Tehran. Today, that physical risk is significantly higher. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is now declaring that Israel must eliminate its reliance on U.S. constraints and operate entirely on its own terms. With Israel operating with less oversight, the July 4th funeral could easily become a targeted strike zone. A diplomatic compromise could inadvertently place Indian leadership in a fatal security trap. That leaves a final path: declining the invitation or sending a low-level bureaucrat to maintain appearances. This is an emotional moment for Iran. Brushing off the state funeral of their supreme leader would be perceived as a deliberate and intense insult. By surviving the American and Israeli bombardment, the Islamic Republic proved its government is not collapsing. Alienating them now means India forfeits its strategic foothold in the region for the foreseeable future. For years, Indian foreign policy has operated on a careful tightrope. That era is now facing its ultimate test. The physical destruction of the war has been mirrored by the collapse of diplomatic nuance. For New Delhi, the ambiguous middle ground that once allowed for simultaneous partnerships has evaporated. India is trying to weigh the UAE and Israel alliance against Iranian energy and logistics, all while factoring in the literal physical safety of its leaders. No matter who steps off a plane in Tehran on July 4th, even if no one does, the action will send an unavoidable shockwave through the region. Weighing the anger of the UAE, the threat of an Israeli strike, and the loss of Iran's leverage, what is the least damaging move the Prime Minister can make?